Dipty's talking about it at the top of the papers as well. The ongoing protests in Iran, those sanctions coming into effect today.
That's right. The Donald Trump administration has reinstated those sanctions that were removed under the Iran nuclear deal in 2015. The U.S. calling it the toughest sanctions ever against Iran. It's come into effect already, targeting oil exports, shipping and banking, key sectors of Iran's economy, not just affecting Iran, but the countries dealing with Iran too. Coinciding with this was the 39th anniversary of the U.S. Embassy takeover in 1979. That's making the front pages of the Iran Daily. That commemoration was also coincided by thousands of Iranians protesting the new sanctions in front of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran on Sunday, chanting "Death to America" and "Down with USA," which is actually a slogan shared during the 1979 revolution. President Hassan Rouhani has said the country faces a, quote, war situation and began air defense drills to sort of show off the country's military capacities. Today here, we're going to show you a cartoon from Al Arab, which is a London-based pan-Arab paper. These tensions really have all the ingredients for a really tense situation. On the left there, you have the sanctions. Around the Ayatollah Khamenei on that suicide belt is the anger of the Iranian people. All of this could be potentially explosive for the Iranian government.
Yeah, well, that's been the main news story of the day today. Set to be the main story of the week, though, of course, those midterm elections in the US. Momentum really building up to Tuesday's crucial vote, which will be seen as the people's verdict, if you like, on Trump's presidency.
Well, let's show you some of the front pages. They're already starting to talk about these midterms. The USA Today looking at state races during these midterms that will weigh on the US Congress. They say not just for the rest of Donald Trump's mandate, but they say could actually define the national political landscape for the next decade, maybe even beyond that. That's a pretty heavy legacy to bear going into these midterms. The French paper Les Echos, that's a French business paper, they're saying that Trump is confronting America's verdict, and as proof of how important these races are to the international community, the editors at the Guardian have actually penned today's editorial calling for a blue wave to constrain Donald Trump and counter his campaigns of hate. I'm quoting there. Trump seeks consistently to be the president of some of the United States, not all of it. They say Democratic control of the Senate would clip his wings.
The midterms, though, at least they're shaping up to diversify US politics, aren't they?
Well, that's a really interesting thing. And we're seeing this from The Times, the British daily. The Times has penned an article saying these midterms could change the face of America. It could produce the first black female governor in Georgia with Stacey Abrams, a Democrat who's been backed by the Obamas and Oprah Winfrey. Florida could get its first black governor. Christine Hallquist, she's a gubernatorial candidate in Vermont. If she wins, she would be the first openly transgender candidate. And Ilhan Omar, a Somali migrant, could be the first Muslim elected to Congress for her district in Minnesota. They would give a representation to an America that, I quote, looks less like the core support base of Donald Trump. On that note, there'll be a new crop of politically activated young Americans voting for the first time. Notably, the survivors of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School massacre in Florida. You'll remember, Stuart, that group of survivors, they became student activists. They went around the country calling for gun reform and stricter gun laws.
Well, this week, a completely different story for you now. The jury selection begins. This for the trial of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the man considered to be one of the most dangerous criminals in modern history.
That's right, alleged narco-trafficker. He was extradited to the U.S. from Mexico after his capture. He faces a New York federal court with the jury selection beginning today. His lawyer's defense strategy, according to El Universal, which is a Mexican daily newspaper, is to present a man whose danger has been exaggerated by the press with testimonies from witnesses who want to please the prosecution. They say he was not the leader of the Sinaloa cartel. That would be their response to the most serious charge of running a criminal enterprise, which actually carries a life jail term. The defense strategy, they say, is not so much in proving his innocence as it is dividing the jury enough to avoid a unanimous vote.
And finally, from Dipsy. This is one you're going to have to look at the screen for. Mohamed Salah, striker, of course, for Liverpool. He's been honoured in his native Egypt with a statue, but it doesn't really seem to resemble him, apparently.
He's been given what they call the Cristiano Ronaldo treatment.
Yes, exactly.
Because you remember the bust of the Portuguese footballer was mocked online because it looked very
Terrible.
little like him.
Yeah.
Now, Mo Salah's statue, my God, featured
Art
him.
Garfunkel. It's
Yes,
Art Garfunkel.
that's it. That some people have likened him to Garfunkel. He's got an unusually large head, or a large head and an unusually small body. I can't really figure out which is the wrong thing there. His curly hair, the weird facial expression. He kind of looks like a hobbit, you know. Anyway, Twitter users have been mocking the statue online. One comparing him to you'll recognize his face. He's a kidnapper from Home Alone.
Oh, right, yes, okay, definitely.
And actually, the resemblance is quite uncanny in the end. While you have this user summing up this user's reaction by another famous meme. It's the meme of the little girl and her clearly confused reaction. That's how this user is reacting to that statue.
Yes, Art Garfunkel, or if you're a British person and you know the 1970s, Leo Sayer, who was a singer in the 1970s. You probably don't know him.
No.
He looks just like him as well, so there you go.
I've seen a comparison to a troll as well.
Oh, really? On the troll, I think. Thank you very much, Dipti, to Hugo Laurent with the papers on France 24. After the break, we're going to bring you today's